Hey everybody, it's Circle Release Week. This is our 22nd release, and I'm so excited to share these wines with you. The theme of this release is in Defiance, and these are all wines or grapes or winemakers who in their nature are defying something that is expected of them or stepping outside the bounds of what's considered normal. This wine is our first wine, and it is Sao Joao Espumante Bruto. And this is a wine from Portugal, from the Beirada region. And it's made from two grapes that are not typically used for sparkling wine. This is made from Touriga Nacional, which is the classic port grape, and Baga, which is another red grape that's often made into a big chewy red. So the fact that they're making an elegant, bright, refreshing rosé bubbles out of this is pretty cool and pretty different than anything I've ever seen before. This wine has wonderful rose petal and light tart red fruit notes like cranberry and Rainier cherry. It's delicious. Have it with charcuterie. The recipe we recommended was bacalhau fritters, so like salt cod fritters with something bubbly and effervescent like this. Absolutely perfect. We're gonna move next to a wine from the north of Italy, and this is made from the Vespaiolo grape, which in the region this is from, Braganze, Vespaiolo is often made into a dessert wine called torcolato. And this is a really unique thing to take Vespaiolo and make it into a dry white. You can sense the DNA of a really good dessert wine grape here, because when you lift your nose to the glass, it's got a honeyed quality, it's got a floral quality. You can sense that if you were to take these grapes and dry them, you would have something really special, really concentrated, really floral. But this is not that. This is a wine made to be paired with local cuisine. Pair this with pastas with seafood in them because it's got a wonderful salty note to it. But it also has all this cool fruit going on, all this cool floral stuff going on that I think makes it very endearing, and the texture of this wine is so awesome. This is made by a family winery called Contra Soarda, and they've been at it since 1999, just making really exciting wines, farming everything organically, and they have this really cool cellar cut into the hillside that is temperature controlled because it's cut into the bedrock of this mountain, and I think this wine's super cool. So try it out. I still can't believe how dry this wine finishes. Okay, next is a wine from the Marigny. And the Marigny is a project started by a guy named Andy, and he's been doing experimental, exciting winemaking stuff in the Willamette Valley for quite a while now. I first discovered his wines back when I was working at Canlis, and he came in and poured, and I was just blown away at the types of stuff he was doing. And this is another good example of him taking some experiments and risking, what is considered normal to make something really special. So Mixed Emotion is a blend of 4 different styles of wine. It's a blend of a white Pinot Gris, a skin contact Pinot Gris, a Pinot Noir Rosé, and a Pinot Noir red wine. And he blends them all together and comes up with this, which, look at that color. It is totally unlike anything you've seen before. It is very pale, but also has quite a lot of pigment. And then you don't know what to smell on the nose. It's like, is this a red? Is this a rosé? Is this a skin contact wine? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's its own thing, Mixed Emotions. And it is super expressive. It has a ton of fresh cherry and fresh raspberry and fresh crushed herbs. I think it's wonderful. And on the palate, just so electric. Beautiful fruit. And it hits with a lot of, freshness and finishes with a lot of dryness. Man, I cannot wait for you to try this wine. Staying in the Pacific Northwest and also doing something a little bit kooky and out of the ordinary, this is a collaboration between two new wineries called Sonder and Sage Rat, and this is their watermelon cat, Carbonic Nebbiolo. The original name of this release was not going to be In Defiance. It was going to be You're Not Supposed to Do That. And there's a little bit of similar DNA there, but you're not supposed to make Nebbiolo anywhere except for Piedmont. That's like an established rule in the winemaking world. But guess what? These guys are doing it, and they're doing a really good job of it. They're making Nebbiolo in Yakima Valley, which is the last place on earth I would have expected to have a delicious Nebbiolo from. And it's done in a carbonic style, so it's not meant to be Barolo or Barbaresco, the classic Nebbiolo-based wines of Italy. This is meant to be something that is accessible, that is fresh, that showcases a levity in both the style and obviously the label. I thought this label was super cute, as I hope you do too. but it actually still really tastes like Nebbiolo. It really carries this sour cherry note and this sort of tar and this dried rose petal potpourri thing that Nebbiolo is known for. But because it's made in such a leaner, more, bright, chillable red style, it's able to be what it is and have all those like dried herbs and Italian wine notes without needing to be a wine that has to get laid down or cellared forever. And I think it's delicious. So check out that Carbonic Nebbiolo. We're gonna move to this wine. This is Grape Inc. And this is Days Until Harvest Pinot Noir 2021. This is made by a guy named Jared Hadi. Jared is a poet. He's a published author. He's lived all over the world. He's married to a wonderful Italian lady, and they have an approach that is very different than a lot of winemakers and wineries in Willamette Valley. It's just a very atypical thing, and it's in defiance of this idea that to start a winery you need to get investors and you need to make a big red and get lots of points and impress everyone with your scores. He lives in a humble cottage with his fam. He only works with vineyards that he can walk to on foot, and he makes everything very patiently, very calmly, and as naturally as possible. And so, no, this is not some crazy Pinot Noir that doesn't taste like Oregon Pinot Noir. It does taste like Oregon Pinot Noir, but you sense in this wine and the energy that's within it, something that is very honest and very true and very unvarnished. It's not here to try to impress you. It's just there to be exactly itself and nothing else. This is a wine that is made half carbonic, or half whole cluster rather, and then half destemmed. And so those two parts of the Pinot Noir grapes that he picks are fermented separately and then blended together and aged for about 18 months until they're ready for release. I say that this wine is kind of high-toned. It's brighter, more red-fruited. It has a lot of floral notes. It is not the big, chewy, black cherry Pinot Noirs that you might find in parts of the Willamette or parts of California. This is a more soft and elegant, almost like a German Pinot Noir or an Alto Adige Pinot Noir. It feels like it's made in some mountains. And this is from Tualatin Hills, which is in the foothills of the coastal range and in the northern part of Willamette Valley, and it really speaks to that lift and energy of Alpine Pinot Noir. It's a stunner. Pair this with anything, but as I'm thinking about it now, even no matter what I wrote on the card, roast chicken would be killer with that. So, do what you will. Now we're going to go to a region that is known for the biggest, the chewiest, the most impressive reds, Toro. And we're going to go down the river just a little ways, right next door to Toro, to a region called Arrieros. And this is Camino de los Arrieros, made by Alvar de Dios, who's the winemaker. And he grew up in Toro and probably grew up watching these big international wine conglomerates come and snap up a bunch of land in this region and make chewy, oaky, huge wines that are very popular and get really big scores. And then he decided to go the exact opposite direction. So he worked with Donny Landi and Fernando Garcia at Comando G, the great venerable winery in the Madrid Dio. And those guys were known for finding old, kooky, abandoned vineyards all over the region of Madrid and turning them into something elegant and perfumed and beautiful. And that's pretty much exactly what Alvaro de Dios is doing here with this wine called Camino de los Arrieros. He's taking forgotten vineyards of all sorts of random grape varieties. One of them is Rufete, Cheyenne, all these grapes that are kind of not considered great or classic, but he's blending them together into something really special and basically flouting the laws for making a popular Spanish wine. Because in the late 90s, in the early 2000s, if you wanted to be a famous Spanish winery, you had to plant Cab, or you had to plant Merlot or Syrah, and you had to age it in oak, and you had to send it off to the publications to try to get a good score. No matter what you were trying to do regarding your region, you would just send it off and you would try to get your wine made popular by getting a good score. And that is not the recipe for success here. He's saying, hey, let's make something honest with old vineyards that are surrounding the Arribes region, and that's what we have here. very herbal, very dusty, very dry. This is like lavender and dried violets and desert dust. And there's fruit here too, and you feel the heat of the Toro sun. But this wine's clocking in at like 12.7% alcohol, which is so elegant and so light compared to most of what comes from Toro, which can sometimes push 15 or 16. So I think you're gonna love this wine from Alvaro de Dios. The other note coming out of here is paprika, like smoked Spanish paprika and pimenton, and man, it's just so delicious. This is it. This is an In Defiance release. Thanks for being Circle members. Come see us at our new digs in Bellevue. If you're in the Seattle area, we'd love to see you. And that's for the show tonight. Thank you.